Good morning, everyone. Here we are back again, our last day of virtual preschool this week, and I am glad that you have decided to join me for circle time today. So let's figure out what day of the week it is. So the last day of school we had was Wednesday, yes, then Thursday. So today is Friday, yes. So let's move that rainbow arrow down to Friday, and let's look at the month. So who remembers the name of our month? Yes, January. So let's go ahead and count those numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. What comes after 20? 21. Yes, and let's figure out what the pattern or the picture is next. Snow person, hat, mitten. Snow person, hat. What comes next? Mitten. Yes. So a number 21 with a mitten on it. So that was yesterday. That was a 3's class day. So we need to do one more number. 19, 20, 21, 22. And let's see here. Snow person, hat, mitten. Snow person, hat, mitten. What comes next? Snow person. Yes, so we have a number 22 with a snow person on it. So let's say our whole date. Today is Friday, January 22nd, 2021. All right, so we need to look at the weather. So look out your window at your house, and you're going to see if it is partly cloudy, cloudy, sunny, windy, rainy, stormy, or snowy. And then we also need to figure out what the temperature feels like today. So if you step out your door, does it feel burning hot? Hot, warm, cool, cold, or freezing cold. All right, and you can also have your mom and dad or your grandma and grandpa look on a weather app to figure out what the temperature is, the number for the temperature, right? So we have been continuing on talking about winter. And today is our last day talking about what animals do in the winter. So I have another book for you today in our mystery envelope. Let's see what our book is today. Okay, so this one is called The Big Snow. The big snow. Honk, honk, honk. The wild geese were flying south. The big harvest moon had come and gone. Red and gold were the leaves on the maples and oaks. And the wind that blew down from the north was cold. Mrs. Cottontail and the littlest rabbit sat on the warm brown earth of the vegetable garden. Far below, at the foot of the hill, the broad waters of the river ebbed slowly to the ocean. They stared into the sky at the flock of wild geese. You know what that means, said Mrs. Cottontail. The littlest rabbit shook his head. He couldn't speak because his mouth was full of carrot tops. He didn't know why the geese were flying south. This was the first time he had seen them. That means that the cold winter days are near, and you will be needing a warm coat, said Mrs. Cottontail. Eat plenty of cabbage leaves and carrot tops, and you will have a thick coat for the winter. The littlest rabbit nibbled another tender carrot top. So these geese are flying south where it's warm, right? They're migrating. And the rabbits are eating lots of good food so that they can get very thick coats for the winter. So they are adapting. The fat little groundhog who lived in a den just outside the garden fence looked up as the geese flew overhead. He had already put on his warm fur coat. Oh, he said, it's nearly time for my winter nap. When the days grew short and cold, he went to bed and slept soundly until spring. This saved him the trouble of storing food for the winter. So the geese are flying south, they're migrating. The bunnies, the rabbits, are getting thick fur coats so they can adapt for the winter, and the groundhog is getting ready to hibernate. Mrs. Chipmunk, with her cheek pouches full of seeds, stopped for a moment beside the little stone house on the hillside. She had worked hard all summer and had stored plenty of seeds and nuts for the winter in her home deep beneath the rock pile. Brrr, she said, it's getting cold. It's time for me to retire. So the chipmunk is going to hibernate as well, along with the groundhog. A blue jay perched on the topmost bough of the sycamore, looked at the geese flying in the sky above the river. Well, it's later than I thought. He flew to the big pine tree where the cardinals were resting. Aren't you going south? He asked. No, indeed, replied the cardinals. We can find plenty to eat here. We like winter. So the cardinals are able to take care of themselves in the winter, so they are animals that adapt. Song sparrows chirped happily on the hillside. They paid no attention to the geese in the sky, for they did not mind the cold weather. They knew that the meadow grasses were heavy with seed, and so were the birches and the ash trees. A bluebird sat on the roof of his house, built of cedar. He looked at a fat robin on the lawn below. It's high time to go south, he called. Not for me, said the robin. He tugged and pulled a fine, fat worm out of the ground. I'm staying here this winter. So what was the sparrow going to do? Migrate, adapt, or hibernate? And what was the bluebird going to do? And what was the robin going to do? Some of them like to migrate, some of them like to hibernate, or I guess the birds don't hibernate. And some of them like to adapt. High on the hill, a brown wood rat stopped to look at the geese. Hey, he squeaked. There they go. He knew cold weather was coming, and he had carried seeds and nuts to his nest under a big rock. The ring-necked pheasants roaming through the woodland only stared at him. They never thought of leaving their home for the south. There was plenty of food for them on the hill, and they didn't mind the cold. So as we keep going through, think about whether the animals are migrating, hibernating, or adapting. Caw, 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 croaked 3 black crows in the cornfield as the geese flew by. They knew where to find food during the long winter months, and they never went south. Every day during the harvest season, the red squirrels and the gray squirrels had been very busy storing nuts and acorns and seeds under the leaves and logs where they hoped to find them during the lean winter months. Their fur coats were thick and warm. They were ready for winter. The pretty white-footed wood mouse flicked his long tail as he looked at the geese flying high in the sky. He knew that winter was coming, but he had worked hard and had a good supply of seeds stored away in his underground nest. He wouldn't be hungry in the months to come. The short-tailed meadow mouse didn't bother to look at the geese. Winter held no terrors for him. The tunnels made by the moles led to sweet plant roots and to the tulip bulbs in the garden. He would have plenty to eat. Shy, white-tailed deer browsed in the woods that covered the ridge at the top of the hill. Their coats were already thick and warm. Some of the deer saw the flying geese, but they never thought of leaving their woodland home, where there was food for all, growing so plentifully. And there were hill-dwellers who came out to hunt for food at night. The skunk family who lived under the woodpile didn't care which way the geese were flying. They were happy and content on the hillside. There was plenty of food to be found if one only followed one's nose, and they could sleep through the coldest winter months in their bed of leaves and soft grasses. The raccoons followed their path through the woods. They too knew that winter was coming. When the deep snow covered the land, they would climb into their soft bed in the hollow trunk of the old willow to sleep until the cold days passed. The days grew shorter and shorter. Then the first snow blew down from the north. When the round winter moon bathed the hillside in silvery light, the mice and the rabbits came out to dance and frolic. The skunks, the raccoons, and the deer left well-marked trails in the early winter snow. Then, the night after Christmas, there was a rainbow around the moon. The wise owls knew what that meant. A rainbow around the moon meant more snow, much more. Whoo! They said, trilling. The sad trilling call of the screech owl was heard up and down and across the hillside. The owls were right. Soft gray clouds quickly filled the sky and blotted out the moon. A beautiful snowflake fell through the air. Then 2 flakes floated softly to the earth, followed by 3, then 4. The snowflakes fell faster and faster and faster. Millions of snowflakes fell from the sky. It snowed all that night and all the next day. Thick snow covered the branches of all trees. Does anyone remember how many sides and points a snowflake has? A blanket of snow covered the meadows, the hills, the valleys. The snow was heavy on the roofs of the houses and barns. The snow stopped falling on the evening of the second day. Once again, the big silvery moon rose high in the sky. The owls winged noiselessly from the sycamore to the pine woods. Nothing else stirred in the silent snow-covered land. Then the skunk family dug their way up from their den, buried so deep under the snow. They sniffed and sniffed, but all their sharp noses smelled was snow. So they crawled back to sleep again in their soft den. The raccoons scraped the snow away from the entrance to their home in the willow. They stared in wonder at the snow. Then they hurried back to sleep until the spring in their soft, warm bed. At dawn, the jays shook their feathers and left the shelter of the big spruce. The sparrows, the chickadees, the cardinals, and a lonely robin scrambled out from their shelters and flew from tree to tree, trying to find a place to perch on the heavy, snow-laden branches. They looked in vain for the seed grasses in the meadow. Ice and snow covered everything, even the seeds of the birches and the ash trees. The jays and the crows took wing to hunt for food. The jays flew north in great circles, and the crows flapped slowly south. The deer huddled together in the deep woods, Drifts of snow covered the bushes and grasses that furnished them with food. The deer were hungry. Mrs. Cottontail and the little rabbits were hungry too. They came out from their nests underground to hunt for food. Snow, snow, nothing but snow, and the birds and the animals of the hill were very hungry. Then the sun rose above the hills, clear and bright. The sharp eyes of the jays saw a little old man in a bright red cap come out from the stone house. He slowly shoveled a path through the deep snow. He was followed by a little old woman dressed all in green. She scattered seeds and nuts and breadcrumbs to right and to left. The cry of the blue jays echoed over the hillside. Food, 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 they cried again and again. All the birds on the hill heard the happy call. Caw, 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 croaked the crows when they saw the little old woman put pans of food back of the house and the little old man drag hay from the shed and scatter corn on the snow. Food, 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 they called, and their cries were heard by the deer in the woodland away at the top of the hill. The squirrels heard them too and raced through the treetops. The snow had covered their hidden stores of nuts and acorns, and they were hungry. The skunk family and the raccoons, deep in their long winter sleep, did not hear the crows' call. In her warm burrow under the rock pile, the chipmunk opened a sleepy eye. She ate a few peanuts. Then she closed her eyes again to dream of the spring days to come. All the other animals hurried as fast as they could through the snow to the little stone house. The cardinals, the sparrows, the chickadees, and the lonely robin flew to the banquet, chirping and singing. The hungry pheasants in the woods heard the glad tidings and joined the happy throng. The groundhog didn't wake up until the second day in February. He pushed up through the snow and looked about. The sun was shining brightly, and there on the snow the groundhog saw his shadow. Oh, I know what that means, he said. There will be 6 more weeks of winter. And he hurried back to his den to sleep until spring. The groundhog was right. It was a long, cold winter for the birds and animals on the hill. But the little old man and the little old woman put out food for them until the warm spring came. And that was the end of the big snow. All right, that's a good story. Let's see what work I have for you today. Let me show you this really quick first. So, and I forgot to undo it. So, in your packet, you have a pipe cleaner, and it may or may not be blue. You may have a different color. There are lots of different colors we passed out. And what you're going to do is bend one side of the pipe cleaner like that, and then you're going to use Cheerios or something similar to Cheerios and string them on the pipe cleaner. And I forgot to bring Cheerios from home, so I can't show you, but you're going to string Cheerios on the pipe cleaner until you get them all the way to this end and this end like that. Then you're going to twist these two sides together, or you can have your mom or dad or grandma or grandpa help you. And then this is going to be a Cheerio bird feeder. You can hang this outside on a tree or a bush or somewhere else where the birds and squirrels and chipmunks or whoever can eat the Cheerios. And when the Cheerios are gone, you can put more on there and you can keep feeding the animals, just like the little old man and little old woman in the book did. All right, so also in your packet, you have something that looks like this. All right, you have a paper. It says, "Where do animals go in winter?" And it has a tree with a hole in it, a log, some water, a cave, and then you have some animals, a bunny, a snake, a squirrel, a frog, a raccoon, a bear, some geese, and you have some words, all right? And I don't expect you to know what these say. Your mom or dad can read them to you. In a tree, down south, in a log, in a burrow, in a cave, in the mud. All right? So you're going to figure out where these animals go for the winter. And so let's see here. Think about the books that we've read about it, and if you can't figure it out from there, you can always look it up online. I'm going to just do one. So you're going to cut around each animal with your thumb up. Do your best cutting. If you need a little help from your mom or dad for this, that is okay too, but definitely give it a try. So I'm going to do the bear. So we know from our bear in a cave craft, right, that bears like to sleep in caves for the winter. They are not actually true hibernators because they don't sleep the entire winter. They get up, but we still say they hibernate because that's kind of the closest thing that they do. So then we know we need to put the words on there. So we're going to cut all of our words. We're going to cut in between on the lines. All right, and these are just solid lines. They're not dotted lines. So we're going to cut out each of the sets of words, this little sentences. And we're going to have our mom or dad help us find the one that says in a cave. All right, let's see here. This one says in a cave. So that's where the bear sleeps. So we're going to put a little glue on there and stick it down next to our bear because the bear is in a cave. All right, and you'll do the same thing with the rest of the animals, figuring out where they might sleep for the winter or where they might go in the winter because not all of them are sleeping, right? All right, so that is what I have to show you today. I hope you have a great day today and a great weekend, and hopefully I will see a lot of you at packet pickup today. Don't let your mom or dad or grandma and grandpa forget, all right? So see you later, everyone.